TimeSplitters is a series that I've heard a lot about throughout the years, but I've never played it myself. All I know is that it's a time-shooting adventure game that played somewhat like GoldenEye. The series joined modern consoles recently and was recently on PlayStation's January sale, in December. So I thought, why not? I've heard a lot of great things about it, I'll try it out. So today we'll be taking a look at the first game, TimeSplitters. I think normally when people talk about this franchise, it's normally TimeSplitters 2. But this is where it all began. The game first released in the year 2000, 25 years ago, so obviously this game will be rather dated. Firstly, the game doesn't have much of a story. From what I gathered from my playtime, there is some sort of war against the TimeSplitters, who are trying to cause a little bit of shenanigans in different places in time, so it's up to you, random assortment of characters, to save the day. TimeSplitters, to my understanding at least, somewhat seems to be a multiplayer focused series. Whenever people talk about it, it's having a blast with their friends in the split-screen multiplayer modes. So the lack of story, outside of guessing and what I could find online, makes sense. But also it makes the game feel like some recent titles that wanted to be multiplayer games, but were forced to have some sort of single-player content, so it was very thin story-wise. Challenges have a bit more story to them, they are a bit mad. Duck season's over, and Duckman Drake is heading off to vacation. But the restaurant staff wants to serve him up with pancakes and hoisin sauce. Don't let them. You must keep that duck alive. Presentation wise, the game looks okay. It's a very old game and all the areas look pretty nice and varied as the game is set through multiple time zones. Character models look awful, but they do have some personality to them, even if that boils down to burly men and hoe-bag women. Sound effects are incredibly generic and I have heard them so many times throughout different games. For some reason Bad Boys 2, the PS2 kept coming to mind. I don't know why that was at the forefront of my memory while playing this game. They sound fine, but it's nothing crazy. Music is also okay, it's very of its time. Reminds me a lot of the movies from that time, which I assume is what they were going for. The game is split into 3 modes: Story, Challenge and Arcade. In the Story mode you are tasked with playing through a variety of stages, grab a thing, and then make a mad escape while being hunted down by the TimeSplitters. There seems to be 3 main time zones: the past, modern day, though right now it's very in the past because it's 90s or 80s, and the future. Each time zone has its own variety of weaponry, enemies, and mission-specific characters to choose from. The past includes revolvers, Tommy guns, Jawa shotguns, and Mauser pistols. The present includes M16s, Uzis, Spaz-12 shotguns, sniper rifles, and pistols. And the future just goes wacky and has future weapons like ray guns and stuff. Some of the weapons do have alternate fire modes, which I only discovered at the end of my first playthrough, which will change how the weapon will handle. The alternate mode burns through ammo, but can be often more devastating. Most of the weapons are fun to use, and don't take a wild amount of damage to kill enemies. The only one I kinda hated using was sniper rifles, and that's purely because of the game's controls. The game plays similarly to GoldenEye. You just point in the vague direction of an enemy, and the game will do its best to lock onto them, and most of the time it does a great job. Sometimes I'll get a bit confused and panic, and start cycling between multiple enemies when there's a group around, but most of the time I found that it worked. My main issue with the controls, and I have tried looking in the settings to try and fix this, but I couldn't find anything, it's the game's precision mode. You hold down on the trigger and it brings up a crosshair, which you can move around for more precise shooting. My problem with this is that it's constantly fighting you to center itself, and it just makes attempting to use this for sniper rifle shooting an absolute ball ache. It's fine enough-ish at close ranges as you can kind of flick shot enemies, but it's still really awkward to use. The biggest use you get out of this mode is when fighting zombie enemies, as they only die via a headshot, so using this mode is basically a must with them. Other than the story mode, we have Challenge and Arcade. Arcade being the game's multiplayer mode, where you can select your own character and bots to face against with different rules. Challenge mode gave me a stroke. In this mode you play through a variety of challenges to unlock different skins for the game's arcade mode. Or if you're on modern consoles, trophies or achievements. These challenges go from fun to fucking infuriatingly annoying. Some task you with helping an Elvis impersonator kill things, or shooting some ducks. Others will require you to kill zombies with your fist within an incredibly strict time limit. If this game didn't have the rewind feature present in most ported titles from the PS2, I don't think I would have been mentally stable enough to finish them. Some of these challenges can be fun, but for the most part they're just painfully annoying and just dull. This one requires you to break every single glass object and plate in this level with a brick. This is not fun. So TimeSplitters, a very aged game. If you wanted to zip through the game's main story levels, I think it's fine, but when you start diving into the challenges mode, it just kinda falls apart. But I got this game and every other game in the series for £2. So if you're interested and like what you see, and like the idea of being annoyed at challenges, then probably just wait for one of the many PSN sales, but I would not personally recommend it. There's plenty of other old shooters that are better than this one. Next up, I will be checking out the second game, which as I say, I think a lot of people claim that's the better one. So here's hoping that I will have a better time on it. So anyway, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.